X-ray Golf Sierra at runway 30 left, ready for takeoff, straight out departure.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra cleared for takeoff, runway 30 left, straight out departure approved.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 30 left, Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra.
I love hearing the voices. Alright, so this is gonna be, oh, maybe potential, see how it turns out. But basically, I wanted to start doing videos of like places I've traveled to or lived at, and I decided to start something simple here in St. Louis, Missouri. This is actually I grew up as a kid, live in Chicago now, and my high school years were in Jefferson City, Missouri, which is the state capital nearby. But St. Louis is still pretty much like a home in my heart. I always go back quite a bit well, not much this year for obvious reasons with the pandemic, but usually back several times a year to see some baseball, get good food and stuff. Anyway, I felt like kind of flying around at night just to see how it looks. I got the data turned on, photo imagery turned off. Graphics settings are only on medium for me. I don't have a supercomputer. It runs pretty well, but it will have some hiccups at times. I've seen even people with good computers have the same issue unless it's like really decked out. So, but anyway, so I kind of want to, I'm taking off Lambert Airport here, and I actually want to talk a little history briefly on this airport. The sad thing is, this is not, I'm going to use my mouse here, this is not a handcrafted airport. If you ever look at pictures of Lambert, the main terminal here is like a dome, very beautiful, and the guy that created the dome, or not created, the architect behind the dome was also the architect at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. I could be wrong, I'm just trying to do this enough to fly, but yeah, Lambert has a lot of rich history. Well, Lambert is an older airport with, with quite a bit of history for, just say, mid-size, like a city of only about 2 million people. Then you kind of compare to, like, cities like New York, Chicago, these other bigger metro areas. Right now, the only hub that's in St. Louis anymore is Southwest Airlines, and they're actually in this terminal over here. They call it the East Terminal, I believe, or maybe it's Terminal 2 now. They renamed everything. It used to be Terminal 1 and Terminal 2. It used to be like concourse A, B, C, D. I'm going to fly around here before we head downtown. So, but anyway, the history is that this used to be TWA's World Headquarters for years.
Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra, you are leaving my airspace, frequency change approved.
Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra frequency change. Approach Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra is type Cessna 152 1 miles south of St. Louis, 1,700 feet. Request clearance to transition Bravo airspace.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra approach. Squawk 7313.
Squawk 7313 Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra.
Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra radar contact 1 mile southeast of St. Louis, 2,100 feet. Cleared through the Bravo airspace.
Yes.
Cleared through the Bravo airspace, Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra.
It's a slow plane. If it was faster, I'd be already downtown the time they're done. Alright. So a little back to the airport as we fly downtown to look at the arch and stuff. By the way, this is live traffic data, so this is an actual plane landing in the St. Louis area right now. I don't recognize RPA though. I'm not familiar with that. Additionals. I recognize like AAL. Actually, there should be another one over there. Yeah, look at that. See, that's Southwest Airlines. I can't tell. I think that's taking off actually from Phoenix. Could be wrong, unless it's just right from Phoenix. It's from KIT. Is that Dallas? Oh, anyway. I don't know that one. The other one was Southwest Airlines. Either flying or just landing from Phoenix. So, with Lambert Airport, so TWA was actually the world headquarters there from about the early 80s until early 2000s when American Airlines bought them out. TWA actually used to be headquartered in Kansas City for a long time, but then they bought Ozark Airlines, which is kind of like was a smaller regional airline in the 70s and early 80s, who was headquartered in St. Louis, and they migrated everything to this Lambert Airport. And during its peak of like the early mid-90s, you had actually direct flights going to London from St. Louis Airport, and their 747 series. So you could actually fly directly to Europe to St. Louis. It was a huge hub, a lot of direct flights around the U.S., and obviously with the hub spoke system, a lot of people coming in and out. was a very busy airport. And when American bought them out, unfortunately, it was like really bad timing for St. Louis. So American bought them out right when 9/11 happened. Obviously, that really killed the industry. At the same time, TWA was bankrupt when they got bought out, so there wasn't, fortunately, they were not in good financial shape, so you had that, at play as well. So, but then, and the main reason, this is where it gets a little interesting if you don't know. So, one of the main reasons American wanted to buy them out, and eventually they did, is at the time, Chicago O'Hare, which is really like their secondary hub behind Dallas, was a lot more limited with how many flights could go in and out, and the times and everything. And they wanted another, that's what American, so you got the double, there's American Airlines right now. But anyway, because of that, they basically wanted to use St. Louis like a secondary hub to Chicago. So basically like offset some of the regional traffic.
Golf Sierra traffic is 1 o'clock, 4 miles at
not too different.
2,700 feet generic. Report them in sight.
As much as I like the ATC, he won't stop talking.
Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra traffic in sight.
I like the ATC, but he keeps talking. Actually, it's going to be here. Yeah. Sorry, I'll turn you back on later. Sorry about that. He keeps talking. I don't mind it, but I don't think I ever started to talk that much on a normal flight. I'm just flying around. And then, speaking of that, this is the Dallas plane right here, by the way. American Airlines KDFW. That's Dallas Fort Worth, Texas. And I can tell he's on approach. His altitude's decreasing as he come in. And this is the flight path for the main runways here. And there's another runway over there. But anyway, so American bought them out. These was like a secondary hub here in the Midwest. And it just... And, it was like that briefly, but because of 9/11 really killed a lot of the traffic, it was just it became like a slow death. Because I was fine, I was fine at St. Louis for years until I moved to Chicago as an adult. And it's like, all of a sudden, instead of direct flights, it became more like, all right, we have quite a few planes, we're going to connect you in Dallas, I rarely connected to Chicago, occasionally I did, but it was always like, fly to me to Dallas. Occasionally there was like direct flights to Atlanta, but otherwise it was like anything that was flying me to Dallas. When I used to have direct flights to Los Angeles and America and all that, they became connect me to Dallas. And then by 2007, especially after O'Hare kind of really opened up a little more to a lot more planes and traffic. Then it, basically that was the it for the airport. It became, it was the slow death was complete. It lost its hub status. A lot of the former TWA employees were pretty much forced out. I think there's still some with American, but it's been 20 years now, so obviously a lot of got to be pushed into retirement age at the end of their careers. So yeah, it was really sad. TWA is a very good airline. Highly, can argument it's gone. It's just it's just sad just how it turned out, but unfortunately that's the business we're always doing. All these other, hold on, let's see. I gotta check my speed here. So flaps. I know it sucks. I really want to get lower for a better look, but I know it's like gonna really push my speed into questionable areas. All right, I'm gonna just to get it back to run. There we go. All right. So yeah, it was a good airline. A lot of rich history, obviously. You have to move the Aviator and all that, but it was one of the. It was one of America's, world's global airlines, flew over Europe and stuff. Not sure about Asia, to be honest. I know it's like United Northwest were like the big Asian airlines, it seemed like. Or the airline, so American Airlines went to Asia. And Pan Am, but Pan Am was kind of unique where their whole market was really international travel and not as much of domestic, so, which kind of what really hurt them during the deregulation phase. But yeah, that's a little history about Lambert. Now Southwest is really the only hub there. And they've been expanding actually to the old terminals that were kind of abandoned for a long time after American left, but now it's getting occupied again. Still nothing like its peak, but it's making progress. United and Delta are adding some more flights as well to the airport. So there's enough travel between the two. So, but anyway, we're now approaching downtown St. Louis right here. I'm gonna do my best, see if I can do the live pause. Like, as long as my speed's pretty maintained, it should be fine. That said, I've done it once, and my speed was going way up, and I was like I was just looking at stuff, and all of a sudden it said I crashed the plane. Like it was severe damage. So it's funny. The light pause, it will not pause your airspeed or your altitude, so just keep an eye out. So on the pause is the pause brake here. Now I can tell this sound imagery is a little old, and I'll show you why in a second here. Now. Oh, wait. See? Perfect. Yeah, see, I was watching it. See, this still says Edward Jones Dome. They pulled the sponsorship of the Ren's left, and that's been already like 4 or 5 years, I think. Maybe a little longer, actually, now that I think about it. But anyway, yeah, this is downtown St. Louis. Yeah, it's not like Chicago or Manhattan, but it's pretty impressive. It's a mid-sized city, decent skyline. There's some good old buildings here. They kind of had a big boom in the 80s. Like this building here was built in the 80s, and that was like in the 80s, early 90s. And some of these were renovated in that time. Some have been around since like the 60s and 50s. Oh, well, that's not what I meant to do. I wish they had the arch light up. It's kind of a shame it's not. This will light up. Actually, I'm going to do a circle around here because I can show you another reason why this is an older image. Not too old, obviously, because there's Busch Stadium. They got the ballpark village across the street. Parking garage. Like this is all pretty much the same. What's kind of neat, if you ever go down here, go down this little area here. There's a few bars here, like an oyster bar, a jazz bar. Really good food, great atmosphere. The Broadway Oyster Bar, that's the Cajun oyster bar place just south of this, like maybe a half a mile walk at most from the stadium. Very amazing. They have a great beer garden, fresh oysters, good po' boys. Can't go wrong. There's actually a big train hub right here, by the way, for the area. So let's go. I don't know why I just did this as a bunch. And before I circle around, I can't remember where exactly because I didn't really been to it. I think this is it. This is the Budweiser campus. It's basically Budweiser's, well, I guess you could say U.S. headquarters. It's AB InBev now, but yeah, they haven't really pulled. I mean, there's been a lot, obviously, changes over the years with the management structure and all that. But no, yeah, this is still the main Budweiser campus to do tours and all that. So definitely a sight to see. By the way, I hear wind in this game. I haven't really heard that too often because I've been flying out more. I'm pretty sure that's a private airport. And I don't hear this wind very well. But again, I'm using a different plane. I haven't used this plane too often. It's a little slower, but for this purpose, it seems perfect for now. But yeah, I was going to approach the others. I'm going to show you something else I can say that's really changed. I can tell from these images. And this is what's kind of cool. Like they've done such a major job of creating this. Like I've flown over the years. You see the approach. The approach is going to fly. If you're coming from the east, your approach is going to go into Lambert that way to see the landing strip. So you're going to see downtown easily if you sit on the left-hand side of the plane. And I can tell you just this how it really looks from the air. I've been there, and sometimes you come from the west, they'll circle you around, then back in. Just depending on the flight path. So they did a really amazing job. But that said, I can also tell, as well as they've done, the images are slightly old. And the big obvious one is actually with the arch. Pause it here. Put my speed back down. Alright, I'm gonna see here. Yeah, right here is good. So real quick, this goes crazy. This is actually all covered now. They've re-extended the park into the courthouse. So you see the courthouse here. They redid all this park, so this actually goes over the highway now, and it's like one big continuous park. Because the courthouse has actually always been a part of the arch ground. It's just, the interstate I-70 here was always in the way. But yeah, this area around here is Washington Street, though. I was gonna say this is a very good little nightlife here. It's good restaurants, and it's been revitalized over the last probably 15, 20 years. Obviously, that's been a big thing happening in St. Louis. A lot of cities like Baltimore, they're trying to revitalize certain parts, old districts. It's gonna work. It's brought back some people, but obviously, for a city this size, there's so many issues and so complicated. There's no easy answer how to truly revitalized. Let's say back to the glory day with St. Louis. I think city limits had like 1 million people, like 900,000 compared to like 350,000 today. All right, man, we're gonna start going west now. This is actually this already. Oh, real quick, that's what the Blues play. I think it's Scott Trade Center. Now they keep changing names every like few years. So yeah, the Blues and Cardinals are downtown. Somewhere over here, this is SLU, I believe. Yeah, this is the SLU's basketball arena and campus as well. So St. Louis University is right here. Wash U is a little further out west. If I go over that. So, but yeah, it's just incredible. I'm looking at this from the sky, and it's like, St. Louis is not small anymore. It's like 2.5 to 3 million people, roughly, depending how you count. Let's say some of the outer burbs or not for the whole metro area. It gives you really, this San Francisco just gives you, really puts in perspective how expansive the city is, even for a city this size. When I've flown through Los Angeles this game, man, it just goes on forever. I've been going from like Los Angeles to San Diego to Los Angeles. I did that route. There's maybe like 5 minutes of countryside in that 45-minute route. It just really puts in perspective how large an area could possibly be. This is I-64 right here. It's basically like the main artery. This is actually the Forest Park area. It's a weird. This area is a little weird. Like there's some really nice. I don't know if condos. Yeah, I guess condos, apartments, and even houses sit here. But there's other areas that it's not as unfortunately not as well kept. So it's just, and that's the weirdest thing about St. Louis. And I've seen in some cities like Baltimore as well. There'd be like a block that's like almost gated off. It'd be like these old Victorian style houses, very rich, very beautiful. And then like 2 blocks away, all of a sudden it's like you see boarded up buildings. There's just no rhyme or reason. Why it's so instant. Like it's not like it's somewhat gradual or anything like that. It's literally like block by block in St. Louis sometimes. And by the way, this is Forest Park, as I mentioned earlier, but this is the. Trying to do a pause here. So that's the Muni over there. Ah, there we go, right here. Sorry, I was on speed again. I'm really struggling with speed right now. Right, real quick. This is the art museum here, and this is like the little lake in front of it and stuff. This is actually part of the original 1904 World's Fair. Yeah, so this is one of the few sites that's remained since then. They did build the art museum around that time. So, and then this kind of like lake was there as well. They haven't really kept anything else like the cons. And the other buildings were all temporarily, so they're gone. So, yeah, very beautiful park in the area. I tell you what, it's almost like difficult if I prefer flying at night or daytime. I think it just depends where you're going. For the city and stuff, you just can't beat this. This is gorgeous. Look, they got the moon. I'm actually curious if this is the real moon. Like I said, they have moon today. I haven't looked it up. Those Southwest Airlines flights. And up here, this is Clayton, Missouri. The only reason I know this. Excuse me. This is like a second downtown for the St. Louis region. You see, there's like quite a bit of skyscrapers. They're not huge. They're not like 50 stories tall, but they're a good 15 to 30 stories tall, roughly, I think, for this area. Known for a lot of law firms, but they also, there's obviously going to be other business firms. You got like some good restaurants and some of these office buildings, and there's some blocks here where good little mom and pop brunch and breakfast places and so forth. And this is actually 170 here. This is when the roads are going to circle around here. Now I can tell you from here on out, if I kept going west, it's just mostly suburbs. Like this is pretty much, it just goes on. The suburbs go on for another good. Well, let's say 15. It goes on. Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, I'd about to get to 25 miles out easily. But, you know, by that time, it's more the outer burbs-ish. Unlike Chicago, where 25 miles out, you're still, like, in the heart of the main burbs, easily. They actually so I have to tell you a funny story about this. So, see this here? This is normal. You know, it's a spaghetti loop design. It wasn't always like that. See this here? This is part of the original design. They didn't have these bridges, so they changed from I-70-64. You literally had a almost 9. It was like they actually put a right turn there, so they redid all that finally. So the highway ended. You almost had like a stop, do a 9-degree right turn onto this boulevard to transfer to the highway, to I-64. You want to go on the other end. I mean, it was the most. And the thing is, they built that in 1945 or 1950. You know, it was a time where they didn't have, you know, the road design was still new and fresh. You know, they didn't have, like let's say the modern understanding and engineering design and architecture, how to design a highway. No, that was built in the 80s, apparently. All right, it was built in the 80s. And that time, you know, when you go to places like that, you know, this is telling what my dad and, you know, people were in that time. You know, you go to Dallas-Fort Worth at the time, they had spaghetti design, and they couldn't figure that out. And I think they ran out of money or they got cheap, so that was the solution. You know, put a 9-degree turn of, you know, semi-trucks and God knows what, about to crash into a wall. And then you want to get on a boulevard with a mall and God knows what else in that region. And there's like a lot of plazas and shopping. You know, it was just so stupid. I've never seen anything like it. I'm kind of debating if I should go back to land at Lambert, because I know, like, I'm trying to pull my map here. There's an airfield somewhere over here. I can't remember where though. Oh, and let's say it's gone. That made us. Actually, you know what? I want to do Mid-America Airport, but that's a little out. Super fun. Yeah, we'll probably just do something else. I don't want to drag this video too long. The only thing I was going to try and do, but I didn't really fly it perfectly because I can't find I-44. But anyway, so this is more like southwest St. Louis. Ooh, is that the interstate? And, you know, and stuff. Look, there's an area out here where I highly recommend if you were travels the Dill. It's a very old, rich Italian, very beautiful. Beautiful neighborhood, but amazing food and so forth. So, but yeah, this is pretty much it. Yeah, like I said, there's only so much in St. Louis you can do. I mean, there's a children's museum, which unfortunately I've been trying to find it from space, but it's basically like it's really kind of like that Washington Street that I mentioned, like near the Dome. Like, if you ever go to St. Louis, the things I recommend before I close up this video is obviously downtown for the Arch. There's actually museums now. You get the Blues Museum down there and so forth. You know, again, this is Flight Simulator. I'm able to map it out. Yeah, I can't pen anything like a Google map. You know, then you got like the Children's Museum and so forth. And then I actually recommend Forest Park off 64. You know, it's a big park. There's a nice golf course there. It's public. The art museum's there. The Missouri History Museum is there. So definitely, you know, this definitely this stuff. It's a good city to go to for a good 3 or 4 days. That's kind of what I recommend. And it's my hometown. You know, it's flawed. It's got issues like anywhere else, but you know, it'll always be a part of my heart. Actually, hold on. Now I'm going to turn this back on. I got tired. I was just telling me about every data traffic in the area. I should turn that up. All right.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Downtown Tower. Fly left downwind runway 30 left. Altimeter 30.05 wind 241 at 5.
Enter left downwind runway 30 left Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra.
Let's see if I can do this. I like to see this.
Downtown Tower Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra is unfamiliar with the area. Request directions to the airport.
Actually an airstrip over here. I mean, there's an Air Force base
Cessna X-ray Golf
way
Sierra
over,
Airport
somewhere over
is
there.
1
It's
o'clock,
got Air
5
Force
miles.
base. Is it 2 runways? Let's take a look. Okay. Okay, the one on the right. I guess that's a smaller one, but it looks like a taxi. Alright, I'm gonna try this from the cockpit. This is the downtown. There's no lights in here. So what about 80? Trying to see where's my altitude. Oh, here it is. Looks like about 2,000. Yep. Oh. What's this? Oh. I'm still trying to get better at landing. Obviously, it just varies on the plane. I do feel like this is an easier plane because it's not as fast. But at the same time, I don't feel like I'm going slow enough. Or not slow enough. Not low enough. Wow, look at those 2 Southwest planes in the area right now. I don't know why it keeps telling me that. Huh. Right down. I didn't know they fly to Houston to St. Louis now. That must be one of the new routes they've added. Houston, that'd be the case. And by Houston, it's actually not. It's not George Bush and Conner Airport. It's like it's like Houston Lobby, which is it's close in the city, but it's not that big. It's just Southwest that flies there, from my understanding. You can actually land on this, I think. There we go. Not low enough, but we'll fix this. And the good news, even when I do this, it hasn't jumped back to 100. A little more. Alright. It's funny, the other one, the planes I've been flying lately, they all have computers. So I've gotten really used to that. Alright. I think there's a long runway for me.
Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra, you were not cleared to land. Clear the runway.
Oh, I thought this is it. I'm at the wrong airport then. Oh. Oh no. Laggy.
Parks Airport Information Golf 0200 Zulu. Wind 250 at 5. Visibility, tree. Sky condition, few clouds at 1,200 feet, few clouds at 4,300 feet, few clouds at 12,500
Yeah, we'll
feet.
just use this.
Temperature, 26. Dew point, 10. Altimeter tree 0.05.
Alright, well, I picked the wrong
right
airport.
and
I thought
ILS
this
runway
was it.
30 left in
What
use.
airport is it?
Landing and departing runway 30 right and runway 30 left. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on it.
Downtown ground Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra taxi to parking.
Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra taxi to general aviation parking by taxiway cross runway 30 right, Charlie cross runway 12 left golf.
Taxiing to general aviation parking via taxiway cross runway 30 right, Charlie cross runway 12 left Golf, Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra.
Well, the good news, we land okay. Bad news, apparently, I didn't request landing at this airport. Yeah, I'm just kind of being a little more quiet here to finish this up. I'm trying to get better at this because I'm actually really fascinated by all this. Like, that's how detailed it can be. And, you know, I'm playing on easier, you know, somewhat streamlined settings, but the fact you can play almost, let's say, realistic mode in which, you know, I gotta, like, start all this up and input everything. I mean, it's just crazy. And this is an easier point. Like, this has your, you know, your key information, everything. But when you start flying like the Airbus A320 or the 747, oh, losing control. I will say, at least it's forgiving how I'm driving on grass. I mean, look at this. This is a tiny little airport. It's kind of neat. Never realized this was, they had this in East St. Louis, roughly. There we go. Actually, I want to see if we can do this in the cockpit. I'm going to shut it off. That didn't go so well. Throttle control. Probably easier to try this in the day because I don't know where it is. Oh, is this it? No. I actually figured out one of the other planes. I finally found the controls. I'm probably trying to the propellers around this one. Oh, anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Let's taxi parking.
Downtown ground, Cessna Alpha.
Alright, that's enough. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Yeah, the other ones will probably have a little more direction. Like, I want to do one, like, example of Tokyo, since I've been there, and it's probably one of my favorite cities I visit. It's just, the structure would be kind of like going from one of the city airports to another and fly over some stuff. Similar to this. This was a little more loose, just kind of like a test run to see how this turned out, but, anyway, I hope you enjoyed, learned a few things, and, you know, have a good day.